Hello, everyone. It's Neil here from the Let's Talk About podcast, and today we are doing a first. I'm live. I'm live in the Let's Talk About podcast studio, as you can see, aka my living room. So the reason why I'm coming today, and I thought I'd do a live one, is because I thought let everyone see me. I'm 10 episodes in now, so I thought it's about time people should see me, really. As you can tell, I have a new cap on, the Let's Talk About podcast cap. It's my birthday weekend, and the missus and the baby got together on eBay and bought it me. She sent over the logo and brought me in. I've got this. Look at it. How good's that? How good is that? It's not a merch store. It's not selling anything. It's a one-off. To be on Vinted for about £1 million in a couple of years' time. And yeah, I've got a Let's Talk About podcast cap. Look at that. So I thought I'd come on and say hello, and everyone can actually see me for who I am anyway. They hear my voice. People have tried to understand me, and I thought, well, now you can actually see me for who I am, and we can go from there. But today's episode, we're talking about 80s films that you loved, but nobody else heard of. I'm a film geek, and I've got loads of these, absolute rucks of them, because I used to just sit in my bedroom all day just watching films when I was playing football. And so I thought it'd be a good one. So, and today as well, I've also got lots of feedback as well. I've actually got quite a few people who commented on the socials or sent me messages or something telling me theirs. So, I'm going to give them a shout out as well, because, if they've had the time to go out and send me something, so I think I should give them a shout out. Anyway, let's 5 stars. Hit the 5 stars for this episode. Like and subscribe. It is a really big thing. I know I keep going on about every week. Hit them 5 stars. It takes us through the algorithm and it gets up. And the better higher we go, the better episodes we can do. And we can do more deeper searches. Even though it took me a week to the Colleen Stan. Fucking hell, that was draining. That was. But I love doing this. I love doing this podcast. I really do. And I would love to grow it. But I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I'll wing it every single week, as you can probably tell. So let's get the housekeeping out of the way and get it all done so we can get straight into the films and we can start talking 80s films and start talking all about all that synthesizers and training montages and brilliant soundtracks. And we can go on from there. So hit the like and subscribe, hit 5 stars. At the bottom of this episode, you'll see a comment. Put a comment on there, whether it's a good comment, whether it's a bad comment. I'm not fussed. Comments, and I will literally take anything on board. I really, really will. Also, you can contact me on letstalkaboutpods@gmail.com. I had my first email. Get in there! First email. Thank you very much to the Google Friends Forever who sent me over an email. They wanted some ghost stories, so I sent them over my ghost story about my dad. And I'm going to publish it. They're going to air it on the episode. And I'm so looking forward to that. Because that is a good podcast as well. And I do like listening to that. But yeah, I had my first email. I've had some replies on the socials. Things are going well. What do you think, John Claude? What do you think?
It's all right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what about this? Oh, yeah. I understand. I remember that dance. I knew that dance off by heart, and I actually did in a nightclub once with my mate Barney. He didn't get down very well. He didn't get down very well at all. This is the day when I used to train, and I used to have like big arms. I used to have like the big guns on the big chest and everything. I had like 20 on each biceps and stuff. And we did down in a nightclub, and he didn't get down well at all. The girls don't like it. Well, the girls liked it. There's just the lads in there, they really don't like it at all. But yeah. And so, today I got many sound effects today because obviously you can't use music and all that sort of stuff. But I have got a few little things up my sleeves that I can chuck in, but nothing major. But 80s films. So everyone loves 80s films. A lot of people, even young people who like my daughter like is getting into the 80s films. She loves the Karate Kid and stuff like that. So she's getting into it now. But end of the day, 80s films, and like I was born in 78. So I grew up with like all the 70s films now, and like the 80s films, sorry. And I remember the way I got into it was, I remember the once, my nan and granddad, they used to have the video hired from Radio Rentals. You used to put 50 pence in the back of the meter. And the bloke used to come every Saturday and he'd like take the money at the back and he'd go, "Here, kid, here's 50 pence. And he took you 50 pence. And he'd be like, "What? Fucking hell, I got 50 pence. I can go down the shop. I can buy like a week's shopping with 50 pence. That I can do in my bedroom." It'd be all rubbish and shit and like sweets and chocolate and shit. But that's what we used to do. But I remember he come down once, he says, "Do you want a video with your package?" Now, my nan used to have like a Betamax video, like, it was like a top loader thing, and he used to have like, these like cowboys and westerns and like Clint Eastwoods and stuff like that. So they had this video coming into this VHS. It was like a big top loader thing. It was probably about this big. And they put the video in, and like you press it down and you press play, and it's like, oh my God, this is the future. This is the future. I mean, I'm talking early 80s. This was. They went, Neil, and I had a really, really shit old, like, big, massive black and white TV in my bedroom. How old was I? I'd be about 10. I'd be about 10 or something like that. And they're giving this black and white TV. So I connected, they gave him this Betamax, and it was all like Clint Eastwood films and Bruce Lee films. What else was Clint Eastwood, Bruce Lee films. The Wham! Last Christmas video, Last Christmas. That it was like the video. It said that it was the single. It was on like a 3-minute video, and I don't know. Boy, I ain't got a clue what that was for. I never watched it. Or it's made like, there's some Jackie Chan films in there. There was some Clint Eastwood films. There was lots of films like that, really. But I was like, wow, I've got a video in my bedroom. I really did. I was walking around like I had 10 dicks, I tell you, honestly. I was walking around. I was like Vincent Mann walking down the ring. I was like, yeah, man, look at me. Shoulders like, 15 foot wide and everything and that sort of stuff. Oh, it was great. But anyway, I grew up on that sort of film and sort of things. And like, there was a lot of video shops from around by where I used to live. I mean, even the shops used to do videos. I mean, you had like Toll End videos where I used to get my stuff from. Then you go up the road, you have the BCM, sorry. Then you go around the corner, and then the grocery shop used to have videos in there. And you went to the other shop, and they started on like a turntable sort of thing. So you could get like 5 films, was it like 7 films for a £5, I think it was. So I used to get like 1 or 2 to get some. So that was how I got into like films and stuff. So 80s films. What do we know about 80s films? 80s films was always cheesy soundtracks, brilliant soundtracks. I mean, for example, the Lost Boys soundtrack. If I can turn around and say, if I put this one on, let's see if it plays. Oh, gonna be Lost Boys soundtrack, one of the best soundtracks ever. My mate had that on CD and vinyl, believe it or not. And he used to go around his house and used to listen to that. That was brilliant. That was a brilliant film. One of the best films, one of my favourite films there is Lost Boys. The sequel's absolute pile of shit. Don't even bother them. They are terrible. Even damn terrible. But the original, very, very, very good film. I mean, it still holds up now. You watch it now, he comes on, you're like, I'm watching this. You find a pizza, you get come over here, you prop open a good old fashioned Iron Brew as it powers his channel, and you'd watch it. It's just a good film. But everything about it, you had the film, the acting, you had the upcoming like brilliant stars like Jason Patric and Kiefer Sutherland, Jamie Gertz. Then you had the 2 Coreys. It was brilliant. It was everything what the 80s was about. You had a bloke with his top off, playing a saxophone. Still believe. Tim Curello, I think his name was, goes around the festival still doing that song now. Yeah, I think he's about 100, but he still does it with his top off and his big long hair, playing that one song. But that's what it was about 80s films. All the action films used to have like training montages. There's always a training montage with like some music behind it, and I used to the Bloodsport one and the kickboxer one. I used to do in my bedroom, and I used to play on repeat while doing sit-ups and press-ups. The same thing, really, because I was a massive Van Damme fan, massive Van Damme, and Arnie be there carrying like a commando, carrying like a big his big like tree on his shoulder, and I used to be like, I want arms like that. So I used to be like doing press-ups sort of thing, constantly listening to him like his soundtrack, brilliant, but. That's just the beginning of the 80s film. It was like, really cheesy stuff. There's always tits in a lot of film as well. There's always tits in films as well, in 80s films for some reason. I don't know why. But we're going to get through today. Like, so I'm going to be clicking backwards and forwards into stuff. So hopefully Riverside comes down the bottom down here. There I am. Just going to make sure I click over into that. I'm still learning all this. I've got to learn how to do all this split screen stuff, so I can actually just turn around and click onto it then, and it should come down the bottom. But if it don't come down the bottom, then I'm going to be flicking onto my... I'll just use my phone. Fuck it. I'll just use my phone. Let's go proper old school, like. So the first film from the 80s that I thought of, as soon as I thought of 80s films, I thought, okay, today's like unscripted. So I've got a few things written down. So obviously I'm going to do a little bit off the cuff as well. So it's Manhunter. It was made in 1986. It was the original Silence of the Lambs. It's got Brian Cox in who plays like the Hannibal Lecter. And they'll go after someone called the Tooth Fairy. And it says, before Anthony Hopkins played Hannibal Lecter in the 90s, Brian Cox played Dr. Lecter in his hyper-selfish, neon-soaked Michael Mann, who went on to do Heat, if I remember right. And I think he done Collateral. About an FBI profiler hunting down a killer called the Tooth Fairy. I'm sure that that's the film where the Tooth Fairy, he does that dance where he puts his dick, he's got a big massive bush. He puts his dick in between his legs and he starts dancing around, thinking that was like a woman. So like it makes him look like he's got a big hairy bush. But I don't know why anybody wants one of them, but yeah. But that was before Silence of the Lambs, that was. So that was like the original Silence of the Lambs. So you had Manhunter. It's got Grissom in. I'm sure it's got Grissom in from CSI. I forgot what his name is now. Oh, what was his name? Bloke who played Grissom. I can't remember. Anyway, it's had him in it as well. I watched it once years and years ago. I haven't watched it since. So the next one I got down here is Alligator from 1980, written by John Sayles. It's basically what happens is, I think they made 3 of these. And somebody bins a baby crocodile and like a fair. Over in the UK, you used to have like, in the fairs, you go over, you get Yorker duck and you get like a goldfish, and they stopped doing it. My mate had one, he lasted 20, I think it's 25, 30 years, my mate had one. And back then he had an alligator. We'd all come back, Dad, look what I've won. They went, what the fuck are you doing? Fucking get rid of that fucking thing. So he flushes down the toilet, and he lives down in the toilets in America, which that has happened actually before. It is actually well-known cases of actually alligators living in the sewers. This one happens in there, but he comes out the sewers. As it does, it's an 80s, it's not a film, B-movie style. Loads of like, somebody bites somebody and there's just blood squirting and splattering everywhere. But yeah, it's one of the things you're watching him going, oh my God, this is yeah. Okay then. Nighthawks, 1981. This is a Sylvester Stallone film that not many people speak about on this one. This is the one who's got glasses on, got big massive thin bins, big massive thick bins, and he's got a beard, and he goes after Rutger Hauer. And he stars it with Billy D. Williams, was the man who he was the black guy in the Star Wars films. He was always with Han Solo. Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams are undercover NYC street cops who get transferred to an elite anti-terrorist squad to hunt an international bomber played by terrifying charisma by Rutger Hauer. He did a film called Blind Fury, where he played a blind guy. And people was trying to, he was in the woods and people was trying to get to him for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if he had like a map or something. I don't know. But he was hidden away. And he used to try and find him, but he was blind. He used to kick the shit out of him, and no one could catch him. That's an 80s film as well. It's Blind Fury. It's created more suspenseful than Stallone's later, more cartoonish outings. He made quite a few films in the 80s, to be honest. But Nighthawks is one of his, that goes under the radar. That does. It was right under the radar. Next one, Blue Thunder, 1983. Roy Schneider, from Jaws, stars as a police test pilot flying a high-tech, heavily armoured surveillance helicopter over Los Angeles. When he discovers the military's sinister underlying plans for the chopper, it turns into an all-out aerial war across the city skyline. I remember this. This is pretty good for its time, actually. I mean, like I said, this is 83, and like that shows him having like the big battles in the sky and everything and all that, because this is like a high-tech, one-off helicopter that he's got. And I remember because then, I'm sure from Blue Thunder, I'm sure that was kind of an idea they got for Airwolf, which is like a TV show, which is based on like a helicopter, like a high advanced thing. There, next one, we're going to go into a film that I know all about all this sort of stuff. I mean, I've got it written down on here, but I ended up, I can just go off the top of my head, all of this stuff. It's No Retreat, No Surrender. Or as we like to say, No Retreat, No Surrender! From 1986. A martial arts film famous for featuring a young Jean-Claude Van Damme as a ruthless Soviet villain. He's actually down in the video. It's called The Russian Villain. The plot follows an American teenager who lends karate from the literal ghost of Bruce Lee to defend his family's dojo. It's peak 1980s cheese. It's brilliant, this film. I remember watching this on a VHS. I go from the video shop. When Van Damme comes in, he's like a white suit. And like the bloke who says, I'm taking your martial arts dojo because you ain't making no money and I want to make a nightclub from you. And the bloke's like, you ain't taking my stuff. And he goes to good the bloke, and Van Damme runs in and kicks the bloke. So his son comes over who does martial arts, who thinks he's a bigger badass. And he just gets him out, just chokes him out basically. And the dad comes in and they have a bit of a martial arts fight, and Van Damme kicks the shit out of him with his white suit on, doing these big massive kicks. And I was like, whoa. Anyway, he gets then taught by Bruce Lee. He goes to his grave says, come and help me, when he comes through like a portal, comes through. And he ends up training him and doing all this. He's got like the ball workers, like, it's like a wire, and you pull it like that so you can get like a big chest. He's like, yeah, press ups on the walls. He's like doing the wooden man doing thing, like sort of stuff. He's got like he's doing the splits. I think I'm sure he's doing like a pulley, and he's trying to make him do the splits and stuff. And he's like, yeah, it's proper. No, see, he shows him go to a park, and he's training montage. He's like at a park, and he's like doing like on like these monkey bars, doing pull-ups and stuff, and then he's like doing like scorpion sit-ups and things, and it's brilliant. And in the end, they end up having a fight, and Van Damme's there, and he's famous, the famous video of him like doing the splits across the rope with his arms folded, and he bowls over and they start fighting. Yeah, but that was like 1986, that was. But before Van Damme did No Retreat, No Surrender, he actually had a cameo in a film called Breakdance, which was, I think, 1982, 83. And it's like, basically, it's a breakdance competition. It's literally, the film is what it says. It's a breakdance competition. And then you turn over, and Van Damme's got this, like, like the old wrestling singlets, what they wear, like, like they used to wear in WWE. Like these like thin straps, and like just like was all into one, like around the waist. He's got one of them. It's like a multicolored thing, and he's throwing his hips round like anything. He's proper like doing the game. Oh, you're like, what the fuck? But that was one of his first ever starring things. Chuck Norris got in the role of that, and then he went off and did a film called Monaco Forever, where he's now what's he? I've got it written down here. What his name as? He was named as the Karate Man, and what he does is he picks this guy up and for a ride, and he's got a convertible, and he grabs his leg and he goes, "You got big legs." And the bloke goes, "Don't touch me, I'll knock you fucking out." So he pulls over. Van Damme takes off his shirt, and he's probably like mid-20s in the film. Van Damme he starts doing all these like spin kicks and these roundhouses and everything, all that, and the bloke's like, fucking, he just shows him running off like high speed. He's in it for like 2 minutes. But that's what he was known as. He was known as the gay Karate Man. That's what he was known as. Yeah. But yeah, no one. He kept that film under wrap for ages when it come out, and I think he got released. He was on a double. I've seen it on a double DVD with a film called Black Eagle, and he was in it with that. And I was like, oh my god, what's this? But Black Eagle got released in '88. It was the same time as Bloodsport got released, but he played the bad guy. Van Damme did, and like that's the reason why you want to be like the superhero, want to be the good guy. And Black Eagle, yeah, he much of things only about like 3 scenes, but like he's like the main henchman, and like this big massive fight scene at the end in Black Eagle. And they end up going over the boat, and he goes over the boat, and the propellers pull him in and shows him trying to swim away, and the propellers take him in, and also you see like blood going all up the thing. Yeah, but that was another one, Black Eagle. I'll keep on going to the mouse, and I'm doing this on the mouse. I'm doing it on my phone. I'm going to put my mouse over here, so I keep grabbing it. I'm doing this on my phone, because I'm doing old school. I got in touch with a guy got in touch with me, one of my old gym bros. His name, Way of the Dead Gun. Follow him on Instagram, follow him on all the social medias. He's a really good guy, puts a lot of, he does martial arts, does the gym, looks good. And he does a lot of pre-workout reviews and stuff and that. And he's a funny guy, to be honest. He really is. He took a pre-workout the one day, and he looked like he was going to go to hospital, because he really did fuck him up really bad. And he's a funny guy. You know what he does takes a pre-workout. If anybody don't know what pre-workout is, a pre-workout is what you take like half hour before you train. It gives you energy, gives you like a bit of a rush, gives you a good pump. And he reviews them, and he does like a live review of them. Like, and he texts in, he's like, "Look, I'm half hour in, sweat's pissing out of me, I can feel it." Or it's like, "I'm half hour in, can't feel nothing, complete waste of time." He's a good guy. Way of the Dead Gun, very good guy. Look him up, a good fella. And he mentioned of a lot of films. He mentioned Raw Deal. He mentioned Raw Deal with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I've only ever watched this film once, and he was in the 80s when I watched it. So I was like, I remember the name, but I don't know what it was about. So I looked it up. One of Arnold Schwarzenegger's most overlooked 80s films. He plays a small-town sheriff and former FBI agent who goes undercover to single-handedly dismantle the Chicago Mafia. He lacks the sci-fi pedigree of the Terminator or the camp of Commando, but he features top-tier Arnie one-liners. There you go. That's. I remember the thing. He's got like a big massive gun, and he's got like a thing. And he's got like a load of people behind him on the poster. I remember the poster. But another one that Way the Dead Gun mentioned was a film called Class. Now I was like, Class. I said to him, do you want about Class of 1984? Because there's a film called Class of 1984 about the rebel kids in the oh, well, let me just find it. It's like the teacher goes in and he's like class of 84, they have robots or something, go after the kids, and the tell me about kids and running the street. It was made in 82. It's class of 84, but it was made in 1982. And it's like, I'll read the synopsis, it's probably easier to describe it than that. The film heavily utilised the exploding punk rock aesthetic of the 1980s to create a dystopian, near-future atmosphere where kids don't just skip class, they rule the school with switchblades and sheer terror. Andrew Norris is an idealistic new music teacher who takes a job at Lincoln High School. On his first day, he is horrified to find the school equipped with metal detectors, guarded by exhausted security personnel covered in graffiti. He immediately clashes with Peter Stegman, a brilliant... Oh, shit, what's happened on my phone? A brilliant... What's it gone there? I've lost where I am. A brilliant but psychotic, charismatic teenager who leads a punk-style gang. Stegman and his crew run a luxury drug and prostitution ring right out of school. Oh, it's like that nowadays, I suppose. Well, not the prostitution, but definitely the drugs. While Norris tries to take a stand and reclaim his classroom, the school administration and the police are too intimidated and bound by red tape to help. The conflict quickly escalates from classroom disruption to a brutal, deeply personal war of vengeance between the teacher and the gang. Kind of like he just wants to make a good school, a bad school, a good school, basically. But the way it was done, it was very aggressive, very dark, very like I said, punk. I do remember it. It was like I remember the video cover, and he was very, for the time, it was like you're watching him. It's kind of like what was that one that Coolio done? He done the soundtrack, Day Gangster's Paradise, and he had Michelle Pfeiffer for him. Was it The Principal? No, that was James Belushi. There was a film that they did, and then, like, she did exactly the same. She went into like a shithole school and she tried to make it good. And this is kind of like the same sort of that. But my phone's gone again. But when why did God mention one? He mentioned a film called Class. And I was like, Class? I've never heard of that. Which never heard of it. And he goes, yeah, look it up. So I had to look it up. And basically what it is, it's a film. It's like the Brat Pack. It's got, what's his name? It's got Rob Lowe and Andrew McCarthy. He was in like Mannequin. He was in loads of films in the 80s. Pretty in Pink, I think, as well. They end up going to be sharing a room together. They're like college mates. But then Andrew McCarthy, of course, dates the older woman. And the older woman, of course, has to be Rob Lowe's mom. And then it all kicks off and shit happens and stuff. And they end up being not mates, good mates, not mates. And then, they're going all little things together. But he mentioned that one. I was like, I never looked that one up. So I had to look it up. But Class, I was like, oh, interesting one. But that was the first comment that I got, that was for the films. But the 80s as well, like I said, that brought us in Rob Lowe. And there's a lot of films that like people had in the 80s that like go, well, I don't know, but it was how people started. Now, like the next one I'm going to say is Earth Girls Are Easy from 1988. This gave us the first time we saw Jim Carrey in a film. What it is, Gina Davis, UFO crash lands in a swimming pool while there's out in the pool. And these three aliens get out, and one's yellow, one's purple and red, if I remember right. And it's like, oh shit, and like airy as anything, and like talking, and of course Jim Carrey's doing all his facial expressions as he does, even though he's still under like a lot of prosthetics and stuff. And they ends up shaving them because they've got like loads of hair. So he ends up shaving them, and suddenly you've got Jeff Goldblum, and you've got Damon Wayans. Is it Damon Wayans? Damon Wayans, yeah, the guy who does like the scary movies and White Chicks and that, the black guy. He's there, and then you got Jim Carrey, and that's where they end up becoming. So they end up going around doing all these aliens. It's a comedy, and they go around after them aliens and Jim Carrey's putting faces, putting things over his head, and doing all sorts of stuff. But that was one. But like, a lot of people did like early films, like something you go, oh, that's how they started. So you got Earth Girls Are Easy. You had Michael J. Fox in The Secret of My Success. I used to love this film. I really Michael J. Fox and Ellen Slater, the old Supergirl. Yeah, he wants to become like get his own business. He ends up working in like the mailroom, but then he pretends to be somebody in the business, and then he has to carry on with that persona. So he's running from the mailroom, running to his office, running to his. Yeah, it's a good film. That is good film. And here's another one. And I was talking about early films. The Watchers. Does anybody remember that one? 1988, big, massive, like a Bigfoot creature going after Corey Haim. Corey Haim, he plays Travis, a teenager who takes on an incredible, intelligent, who takes in. Sorry, I wonder if something was wrong there. Corey Haim plays Travis, a teenager who takes in an incredibly intelligent runaway golden retriever. Unaware that the dog escaped from a secret government lab and is being trapped by a mutated predatory monster. That's the one I want to go. He's like a big It looks like kind of Bigfoot, really, in a way, like a Bigfoot mixed with a dog man, and he's chasing because he's after this special dog. And Corey Haim, very old in it, but he goes after, he was probably like a teenager. Well, in the film, yeah, he's very old, but he's probably about 60 in real life. He's dead. He's dead, really. Shame. Died in his 40s, killed himself. Drugs. I don't know. It's a waste, that was. Waste, good actor. But yeah, but that's a good film. That was it. It's a horror film, but it's a like an adventure film, an action film. But it's one of them sort of films because it's based on the book. It's actually got a good story behind it. And obviously, Dean Koontz is one of the he's like well-known horror writers, so he has got a good thing on that. But of course, that gave us the two Coreys because from Corey Haim, you had Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman started off in the Goonies. He was in a few other little bits. But then they got together in The Lost Boys, and that gave us the films of the two Coreys. And Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, when they got together, he was all you knew was going to be a good film. So they did a film called License to Drive, made in 1988. 88? What the fuck's that? 1988. I'll read this hypnosis. I used to love watching this film. This is peak two Corey's synergy. Haim takes the lead as Les, a teenager who fails his driver's license test, but decides to sneak his grandfather's pristine Cadillac out anyway to impress his dream girl, Heather Graham. Feldman plays Dean, his chaotic, troublemaking best friend who pushes the night into absolute automotive disaster. Yeah, what he does is Corey Haim, he has to take his driving test. And he has this guy, and he's like a big black guy, and he's like, this is the way I do things. And he puts a cup of coffee on top of the front of the car. And he goes, if you don't spill that over me, you pass your test. If you turn a corner or something and that coffee goes over me, he gets burnt. He burns me. I don't want to be burnt. I don't get burnt, you pass. I get burnt, we got a problem, and you fail. Anyway, you have to at the end you make some reverse into this like a reverse parking into this like tight area, and it's tight. It really is. But he does it, and in the end, it's just as he pulls into the parking station, someone runs in front of him and he presses the brake, and the thing falls over the cup, but it's empty. So he goes like, "You're lucky, you've passed. I've not got burnt. I'll keep to my end of the bargain." But when he goes to do his license, something happens and I can't remember if it's closed or there's something happens, but he don't get his license anyway. Or he fails his theory. I think he failed his theory, but he put in like he copied someone and he got caught. But something happened and they debunk his test. But he's promised Heather Graham to take her out for a drink. So he just takes his granddad's car, this big prized possession, and they go out on this drive and they go on all these adventures and he does one of the famous 80s one when he goes up an hill, vroom, and the car's in the air for about like, good 30 seconds and bounces like, 47 times and drives off. You see all bits flying off the car, but when they drive the car, it's in pristine condition. But yeah, it's a good film now. It's very, 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 very 80s, very, you can tell it's from a kid's film, from a teenager perspective, made for that genre. Then we also did a film called Dream a Little Dream. Stars shining right above you. Night whispers seem to whisper, I love you. I used to watch this all the while because the girl that was in it, Meredith Salinger, I just think was really good looking, like really, it was like, whoa, as a babe. And Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, they switch roles in this because Corey Haim's normally the main. But in this one, Corey Feldman becomes the main and Corey Haim becomes like the best mate kind of thing. And what they do is he's riding a bike. There's a bloke outside. He's always moaning, a neighbour, always moaning. And they crash. And as they crash, it thunders. Thunder and lightning happens. And this is a shortcut through his garden. But then the body swap. There was loads of films in the 80s. You had Vice Versa. That's in here. You had Vice Versa. You had Freaky Friday. You had Big. You had... there was another one, I can't remember. There was another one where they swap bodies as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But that was like a thing that they like doing back in the 80s. And this one, and because he's the old guy inside Corey Feldman, and Corey Feldman's a bit like like a proper, proper American. He's always dancing, always showing off and everything, but he like kind of mellows him. And he ends up winning the Art of Meredith Salinger. We were born before the wind, also younger than the sun. Everybody be as one. She's sailing to the mystic. Yeah, it's had That was another one. It had really good soundtrack. That did really, really good. I actually brought the soundtrack on CD. That's where I can remember the songs. And there was one David Essex one, Rock On. It was, yeah, Rock On. I remember that was a David Essex song. My auntie was like, oh, I know him, I know him, I know. I used to watch him in concert. Yeah, but that was another one. Dream a Little Dream. They made a second one afterwards. They didn't know good at all. But Dream a Little, it was like a bit of like a cult classic, I suppose the classic does. But then the next one, The Running Man. A few people mentioned The Running Man. I put it on the list because not many people remember The Running Man from when you mention Arnold Schwarzenegger films. You know, not people will remember. It's like kind of like gone under the radar, even though it's been re-released recently with Glenn Powell playing the Schwarzenegger role. God, I watched it, yeah, but the trailer looks fucking terrible. Awful, looks absolutely awful. I mean, it's like it's a basic film. I mean, The Running Man. I mean, if you watch The Running Man, the original, it's a simple film. It really, really is, to be honest. They really hard. Jesse Ventura plays in it, plays like a big, massive. The crowd basically what it is to win money. He goes on a run, and he's kind of absolutely the running man. He's hunted down by different people, and he gets money for each phase that he gets past. And well, my nose itching. Oh, scratch my nose. Oh. But he does that, and the Running Man, the remake, it just looks terrible. It looks really, really, really bad. And it looks cheap and all as well. I mean, it was made like recently, but it looks like where special effects and from '88. Don't know that, but that's it. Running Man's a good film. Few people mentioned that, so I thought I'd put it on the list. And then we had Red Heat from 1989. Dad brought this because I remember my dad liked Arnold Schwarzenegger. He liked all them sort of films. When I watched it because my dad put it on because he thought it was going to be funny because it had James Belushi in. And he thought, well, it's going to be that violent, it's going to be that sort of stuff. But 1989, Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as Captain Ivan Danko. It's funny because he plays this role exactly like Ivan Drago from Rocky. Fiercely disciplined and utterly humorless Moscow militia officer. He's sent to Chicago to extradite a ruthless Georgian drug lord named Victor Rostavelli, who killed Danko's partner back in Russia. When Rostavelli violently escapes custody in the United States, Danko is forced to team up with Detective Sergeant Art Ridzik. I mean, where do you get these names from the American stuff? Just call him Bob or Dave or Colin or something. Art Ridzik. Should just call him, I don't know, Bob Ross or Colin Johns. I don't know, a good one. A messy, cynical and loudmouthed Chicago cop who prefers bending the rules of a military position. The film relies heavily on the classic opposites-attract formula. Danko operates like a human brick wall, completely baffled by American bureaucracy, rights readings and police politics, while Ridzik is constantly exasperated by Danko's preferred method of interrogating suspects, which usually involves breaking fingers or punching through walls. So yeah, it's like there was a lot of them sort of films in the 80s, like the cop buddy films, and from Lethal Weapon, you know, Russia was 1990, I think. But you had like quite a lot of them that wasn't that more popular. But yeah, he did that one. It was one of his worst films, Schwarzenegger. He could speak with his normal accent, you know, he didn't have to change his attitude. He could speak like his Austrian accent. I don't even know what accent that was, but then we had Cobra. Way of the Dead Gone mentioned these two as well, so I'll put him on his list as well. Cobra, 1986. I remember this film because the bad guy, what's his name? Summer Thomas. Is it Summer Thomas? Brian Thompson. He was always the bad guy in all the older films. If you'd seen who he was, you'd know. I know what you want about. His face looked a little bit like scarred. And a little sip now for this. He never got invited to the premiere. His invite never come because he moved house. So he had to buy a ticket to go to the premiere of the film that he was in, because back then you could buy tickets. And he actually bought it and was like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I've had to buy a ticket. And I'm like, oh, we sent you one. I was like, oh yeah, but I moved house. And yeah, we had to buy a ticket to go to the premiere of a film that he was actually in. But yeah, and I remember the scene. He slicks back his hair and he puts it like in engine oil. And he puts like a cone in engine oil and slicks back his hair with this like in the mirror. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Excuse me. Cobra 1986 gave the world one of the most famous and aggressively 80s movie taglines of all time. Say some Stallone thing. Crime is a disease. Meet the cure. That was that. Was that right? Not too bad, was it? Crime is a disease. Meet the cure. That was Stallone's fame. I'm sure if I remember the poster, it's on the bottom of the poster. I used to go to Video Vision, buy me, I used to get the video posters and put them on my wall. So I had like Van Damme posters everywhere, and I used to have film posters all over my room. It was plastered in. I used to have Superman wallpaper back in the day when I was a kid. From like literally from a baby, like my first ever room, and my nan and granddad decorated with Superman wallpaper. As you can tell, I've got the Superman logo and Batman logo as well. And you can, and I thought, well, I'm a teenager now. I can't exactly walk around with like, kid Superman things. So I thought what I'll do is I'll cover it with film posters, and that's what I did. I just put film posters all over it. And I remember the poster for this. I'm sure it had that at the bottom of the thing. It had Stallone's there. He got a toothpick in his mouth and big, massive black Avatar sunglasses and his black t-shirt with his gun, with his veins popping out. And then Instagram shoes at the bottom, it says that. Stallone plays Lieutenant Marion. What the So he's playing some badass copper, and they give him a name, Marion. Marion Cobra Cubetti, a tough-as-nails member of the Los Angeles Police Department's Zombie Squad, an elite bottom-of-the-barrel division called in only when a criminal situation is deemed completely hopeless. The city is currently being terrorized by the New World, a radical cult-like group of neo-fascist serial killers who roam the streets, axe murdering random citizens to weed out the weak. When a fashion model named Ingrid, Bridget Nielsen, Stallone's real wife at the time, he ended up she was married to Talia Shire from Rocky, but then he ended up obviously going with Bridget Nielsen. Witnesses the cult's massive leader, the night slasher, Brian Thompson. She becomes their prime target. Cobra is assigned to protect her, leading him out of the city and into a small rural motel where he must single-handedly fend off a literal army of motorcycle-riding cultists. Yeah, it's a typical, it's a very, very simple film. She sees something that she shouldn't see. They send him over to go and protect her, and then the shit hits the fan. And it's just a complete load of what the fuck goes on after that. Yeah, proper 80s film, lots of explosions, a lot of, like, one of them sort of ones where he takes on, like, 10 blokes in a bar, and they all come at him one at a time, sort of thing, yeah. Oh, he also did, the missus mentioned this one, Over the Top, 1987, the arm wrestling film, the good old, whoa, look at that! Shit! What they do? Wow. Yeah, he put like, yeah. Arm wrestling film Over the Top. Basically, he picks up his son. He's split up with his missus, and he picks up his son. He ends up going on. He's got a big, massive truck. And he shows him in the truck when he's driving. He's always like doing the exercises while he's driving, and he's doing that. And he ends up entering this arm wrestling competition, and he ends up winning, of course. It's one of those sort of things. He pulls loads of faces. Oh, the faces in it are unbelievable. The one guy, he got, if I remember, yeah, the one guy's got he looks like a country bumpkin, big bloke, big bushy perm, and he walks out and he gets a cigar and sticks it down his tongue. Yeah, Over the Top. Critters, 1986. Now, if you obviously, I said I do want popular films on this podcast, so I've got like loads of this. Critters was like a spin-off from Gremlins, because Gremlins made a lot of money in the 80s. A lot of merchandise, a lot of big cartoons. They made all sorts of it. So this is kind of like a spin-off from it, where they made like a big ball and a spin, and they turn up. They've got like the 8 Gremlins, but the monsters come from a UFO lands in it, like some shed in some building somewhere, like in somebody's farm. And then they end up multiplying, and there's loads of them, and they can join and become like a big, massive ball. And I remember the bit where they're going down a road, and they just come from everywhere what they're doing. Let's join and make this big, massive ball. And there's 2 blokes who hunt them down. And obviously they befriend, like, a young kid, and they go after him together, sort of thing. Yeah, cool. Critters, 1986. They made 5 of these, and I think on the 3rd one, the 3rd or the 4th one, was Leonardo DiCaprio's first ever role. He's got like, he's probably about very early teens, big blonde mop top. Yeah, and something to do with a pen. So I remember he's always doing it with a pen. I don't know if that calls him or something. Sure. But they recently made a miniseries. I think it was on Netflix, Amazon Prime or something. They made like a 6-episode miniseries. But Critters, yeah, it was a good film, that wasn't. It was all right. The second one was better than the first one, if I remember right. Unlike Gremlins, where the first one was better than the second one. But the rumour is they're making a Gremlins 3. Yeah, I saw a trailer for the other day. They look how he looks apparently in the Meccan one. So I did a little research. I said the Meccan one because I want to try and make like a series from it. So whether that comes out or not. Then you got the Monster Squad from 1987, written by Shane Black, the bloke who he wrote Predator and Lethal Weapon. Starred in Predator as well. He's the first guy that gets killed in Predator. It's about the Mummy, the Gill Man, the Wolf Man, and Frankenstein's monster all get released from some kids make a reading. They find a book. It's Van Helsing's book. So they read off this like paragraph, and it releases the Mummy, the Gill Man, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster. The Monster Squad perfectly captures the specific late 80s sweet spot where horror movies were still deeply atmospheric and gothic, but infused with pop music, explosive action setups, coming-of-age charm, and it pairs flawlessly with the Critters or the Lost Boys for a nostalgic weekend marathon. I looked up one of these, looked it up. I'm sure someone said they used to do a double play. You'd have like Critters in this or Lost Boys in this, and like they used to play them together. Because in America they do the drive-throughs, and they have like a double bill. Yeah, but I remember this bit of the film because I remember going to school the one day. I was still in 87, so I'd still been like 87. I'd be 8. I'd be 9, 8 or 9. And I was going, you've watched the Monster Squad, because there's like a fat guy, like a fat little kid. Because the group, you got the sporty one, you got the mouthy one, you got the good-looking one, you know, the usual one. You got, and the fat one, he's like the chunk from the Goonies. The chunk from Goonies. He's like in this film. He was up and he like, kick him in the nose, kick Wolfman in the nose, kick Wolfman because he's chasing him. Because Wolfman hasn't got nose. Wolfman, because of course he has. So they run over and he boots Wolfman in the bollocks. And Wolfman goes down screaming. It's like, Wolfman's got nards. And I remember being at school, everyone used to say, for some reason, I haven't got a clue, boy. Maybe because you could say nards, because back in the day, you were allowed to say bollocks, you got a clip around the ear on. Unlike the kids these days. Yeah, it's a good film that was. And like, the Dracula plays like this, like, he thinks he's a stud. And when he talks to women, they just fall under his spell all the time. Yeah, and he goes after one of the kids' mums. Yeah, it's a good film, good film. Just have me a quick drink. That's better. Here's an interesting one. Masters of the Universe, 1987. Now, obviously you had the cartoon, the famous cartoon, which was, hang on a sec here, hang on. I think I might be able to do something with a cartoon. Let me have a look. What can I do with a cartoon?
Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!"
I have the power. E-Man. Well, the cartoon was a big, massive success, so of course they made a film from it. And because Dolph Lundgren had made Rocky IV, he made Red Scorpion, and he was a bit of like, you know, he was the man to be, because I was built like a shithouse. He's, you know, good-looking bloke, built like a shithouse, blonde hair. He ticked all the boxes, and he ended up playing Master of the Universe. He played, but I'm sure Master of the Universe. I think he had blonde hair, but it was long, streaky blonde hair. It was like, yeah. And also had Courtney Cox in. But it was a good film, actually, but 1987, for what it was. It was kind of like, if you like Clash of the Titans, if you liked all that sort of sorcery films and that, because there was loads of them back in the day, like your Conans and your Red Sonjas and Krull and Hulk the Slayer and stuff like that. There was loads of them sort of films, but this was based on that, and it was good because he goes back in. Courtney Cox was back with a boyfriend. I don't know what happened. Some portal opens. It ends up going back into their world, and they send her back. Yeah, Courtney Cox, they're very old in that as well. But Master of the Universe 97, they've remade it. It's out this year. And it's got Idris Elba in, and it's got a couple of others. But I don't know about that. He don't look right to me. He don't look right to me. I think he's a bit wrong. I mean, there's a new Netflix cartoon version as well. And that was shit. Really don't like that. Really don't like that at all. Stick to the original. You know, sometimes you ain't got to reinvent the wheel. Just keep it simple. But from Master of the Universe, Lundgren went from there, from 1987 to 1989, and he made The Punisher. Now, if anyone knows The Punisher's like a Marvel superhero, but yeah, he's a superhero, so he hasn't got superpowers. He's just a bloke who he's a fucking hard as nails bloke who kicks the fuck out of people. Frank Castle. There's a TV series where John Bentnell plays him, and he's actually in the brand new Spider-Man. He takes on his role back, and he's in that as well. But he's also he did a series, and he's doing I think it's like a film, like they do Peaky Blinders, where they make a film to finish off the series. They're making a new one of that, like to finish off. Very, very dark character, very, very dark. Fucking hell, he don't fuck about me. If he's got an hammer, he'll use it. If he's got a nail gun or something, he uses it. He likes violence. He really does. But the original, it was remade. The original was done in 1989. And he plays Frank Castle. He wears his black t-shirt with a skull on the front, and he goes around just basically killing people who wronged him. And I think they killed his wife and his kid. And he goes around and he just basically killed him with a big long trench coat. The plug got a motorbike. Big Harley Davidson. Very, very good film. Very dark. Very gritty. He takes on the Yakuza. I'm just looking at my notes here. He takes on the Yakuza, but it's very, very comic book based. And the original is very good for that. The modern one don't really take on that much to the comic. It does stick to the comic, but not as much as that film did. But that film got made. He got redone. Thomas Jane played him, and he was in Deep Blue Sea. Thomas Jane was. And he played the guy, and he did a really good role, to be honest. Rebecca Romijn Stamos, she's in it as well. She was Mystique in X-Men. And he plays a very good role. John Travolta plays the bad guy in that. But it's interesting he plays. But they did that one, and then they did another one called Punisher Warzone, which was based on the comic, which was very, very violent. And it's had some guy, I've never seen that one, but I know he's very. The trailer used to come on YouTube, and it was always be like a red band trailer. As soon as you seen a red band trailer, you knew shit was going down on that one. But we have two Bruce Willis ones now that people have forgot about. The first one is Blind Date 1987. Now, Bruce Willis, I love Bruce Willis, an actor. He could do anything. I mean, you got your Die Hard, you got your Moonlighting, where he was absolutely brilliant. You had a film called Colour of Night, where he played like a detective. Hudson Hawk. You know, he could do a lot of roles, Bruce Willis. And he was kind of like, every role he did, he was kind of reminding me a bit like Jason Statham, where every role he does plays the same character. He just played himself, really. But, of course, he's very ill at the moment, very, very ill health at the minute. And it's a shame, really, from what happened to him, because he made a shitload of films. If you check on his IMDb, God, he made loads and loads of films. But this is one of his films that not many people remember. I can't remember if this was before or after Moonlighting, or it was roughly the same. It was roughly the same time. Bruce Willis's first major leading role in a feature film, directed by comedy legend Blake Edwards, the guy who did Pink Panther. Willis plays a buttoned-up financial analyst who agrees to blind date with a beautiful woman, Kim Basinger. Completely warned that she goes wild and destructive when she has drinks alcohol, chaos naturally ensues. So basically, he goes on a blind date with Kim Basinger. She gets pissed, and then shit just goes all wrong. It's falling down to taxis. He's sober, trying to keep us safe and everything, that sort of stuff. And it's a comedy, so you can get you one from that. If anybody's had if everybody's gone out somewhere and the mates have been pissed up, and they've had like a comedy night with the mates while they're drunk, it's probably similar to that. I don't drink. I'm teetotal. So mind you, I had a shandy last night because it was my birthday, and the missus brought a drink, and you can only so much pop you can drink, and so I thought, I'll have a shandy. It's so different, and so we'd come to the sour. Obviously we'd been for a meal, so I had a shandy. Full hammer tonight. Never again. Never again. Hangover. Shandy. But yeah, my mates used to get absolutely drunk, and we had some like fun nights over there. We didn't. My mates drunk. So, my mate tried climbing walls. He thought he was Spider-Man. He could climb a wall to get a taxi back from Wolverhampton. Yeah. Good nights. My mate had a stag do in Worcester, and we ended up having to leave at like 6 o'clock because we got there at 2, and we had to leave because everyone was pissed up. I mean, Powerletic pissed as a fart. I was driving a minibus, and them all wired together, all the pubs wasn't, and one let us in nowhere, so we ended up having to leave Worcester and come on. Yeah, fun, crazy days. I've seen a lot of stuff that can't be said on here. Another one that people forget about Bruce Willis he was the voice of Mikey in Look Who's Talking, 1989. It was one of the biggest box office smashes of his career, but you never actually see his face. Bruce Willis provides the inner monologue and voice out from Mikey, a voice-cracking, observant newborn baby, navigating life with his single mother, Kirstie Alley, who falls for a sweet taxi driver, John Travolta. And the next time they were together was Pulp Fiction. But yeah, he played Mikey. Funny film. I showed it to my daughter not long ago, Lottie. We watched it and it was on telly on one of the channels. Yeah, I was like, I forgot this. Good film. I think they made about 3 or 4 of them, if I remember right. Here's another one from Jay. The Outsiders, 1983. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, this legendary coming-of-age film featured a Mount Rushmore of future stars: Patrick Swayze, Matt Dillon, Rob Lowe, Tom Cruise. The latter plays Steve Randall, an aggressive, acrobatic grease monkey member of the Greasers gang. God, I watched this when it came out, but I don't remember much of it. All I remember is there was Ralph Macchio. I think he's in it, if I remember right, as well. The Karate Kid. The Karate Kid. And if I remember right, it's kind of like they've all got the slick back hair. They've all got their hair slicked back, and they're all like, the more young kids and some. If it's the gangs, I'm sure it's the kind of like, because that was like sort of the time of the Warriors as well. Warriors come out to play. He's got the bottles on his fingers. Yeah, but another Tom Cruise film that people don't remember, and I thought this was a brilliant film. I used to like this film. Was Legend, not the Tom Hardy. The Craze film, all the legends that I was on about earlier. This is Legend from 1985. A rare, visually stunning, dark fantasy detour directed by Ridley Scott. Cruise plays Jack O'Green, a forest-dwelling pure soul. He must rescue a princess and defeat the Lord of Darkness, played by the unforgettable Tim Curry. Yeah, in this, it's kind of like it's like there's goblins and there's what is he? He's like a creature of the woods. He wears like a little like a fair pair of pants, big ears. He's an elf, maybe. I don't know. He's something like that. And he has to go and rescue this woman. And the woman is Tim Curry's got her. He's like a devil character. He's like a massive, massive monster with big horns coming from his head. It's really good, actually. But like I said, it's very, reminds me of like Labyrinth. Reminds me of like Labyrinth and like a kid-friendly version of like Conan or Dark Crystal, that sort of stuff. Very, very good film. Very, very good film. But like, he's got long hair in it, if I remember right, as well. Jack, you kissed her. You didn't do it. What you think you can do what you've done and not pay the price? Don't know where I remember that bit, but I remember that bit. And I did it for love. If you love her, then that's fine. It's no problem. Yeah, I remember that. The chap's crying, saying, shit's hit the fan, and he said because you loved that, everything was fine. I hate his films for you, I suppose. Oh, next one on the list, The Wraith, 1986. Oh God, watch this over and over again. Charlie Sheen, the young Charlie Sheen's in this, and he gets beat up by this gang because the gang's leader likes this girl, Sherilyn Fenn. That was a woman back in the 80s. Oh God, she was beautiful, beautiful woman. And she was on my wall. I had her on my wall. I had Sherilyn Fenn, Jennifer Hewitt, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Them was the ones that was on my wall. And they kill him. But he comes back. You see this car? I don't know what car it is. It's a black car. So it's like Night Rider car sort of thing. But he ends up going to where this gang them street races, and he races him. And then it just speeds off. And he comes back round. Of course, he's just like in a black helmet, black costume. He's revving the cars. I'm like, so you want to race? You want to race? We'll race then. So the race, he speeds off, turns around, and he crashes into the cars. But when he crashes into them, they find the car's been crashed. But it's like a massive, like they've been decapitated and crushed and everything. Just the bodies are like old, but them pure white, and their eyes have been removed and stuff. Yeah, so he sends like a message to him all the way through. And I remember the bad guy in this. He has because Charlie Sheen's brother's in it. And then Charlie Sheen comes back and he plays like, even though no one knows, it realises the dead guy's come back to life. He comes back, he says his name's, I don't know what his name is, Colin. I can't remember what his name was. And the guy has to go at him. And he says, when you love someone, you don't feel pain. And he grabs this knife, big massive like Rambo knife. And he pulls it out of his hand. When you love someone, don't feel pain. And he pulls the knife. I remember that scene for some reason. But yeah, it's got Ron Edwards. The director Ron Edwards. He did like Far Away, and he's a famous director. He was in Happy Days as well. His brother, he was in it as well. And he's always like he's a strange looking bloke. He was in the 80s. He was in loads and loads and loads of films. But the car is absolutely brilliant. The car is absolutely brilliant. Really good film, guys. I'm going to find that again. I'll watch that again. That was a really good film. Talking about, like, you had some stars in that film. You had a chap at work. His wife mentioned this one to me. I mentioned Roadhouse. Obviously, it's a popular one sort of thing. But I mentioned this one as well. So cheers for that one, Julie. Steel Dawn, 1987. Patrick Swayze. It's kind of like Patrick Swayze's version of Mad Max. It's got a long hair in it. Now, my auntie brought me this film for some reason. I think it was a pound in a shop or something. I was like, I don't really want to watch that, but my auntie loved Patrick Swayze, so she brought it under the premise of, yeah, Neil, I brought you this. Oh, you don't like it, don't worry. I'll put it on my video library instead of yours. But one day I ended up watching it, and I've got to admit, it was a good film, to be honest. It was really, really good. Really good. He plays it really, really good. Patrick Swayze was a good actor. He could do a lot of roles. He was a very talented bloke. And of course, he can dance. He's got the moves. Johnny Castle can fight. And Roadhouse, which he actually was a martial artist, actually. He was actually a trained martial artist. But this is a good film. Like I said, it's very, very, if you like Mad Max, very, 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 very similar. Very, very, very similar. Set in bleak post-war World War III, where the earth has been reduced to an endless desert wasteland and water is the ultimate currency. Swayze plays a bearded, brooding, nameless soldier of an elite guard turned drifter, known only as the Nomad. Very good film. Good film. Another one. In the 80s, you had Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez and brothers. And Emilio Estevez made a film called Maximum Overdrive. This is one of my first films I ever got as a VHS, because I remember because my dad brought it and then my auntie brought it. So there was 2 copies. Excuse me. There was 2 copies flying around. So I was like, there's 2 copies and I think I'll take one, even though it's an 18 and I'm only 10 or 11. What, I don't know where to, I suppose. So I took it upstairs and I put it on thinking, oh God, I'm supposed to watch this. It's Stephen King. Stephen King's an horror. It's an horror. I allowed to watch horrors. Bump, straight in the video, straight press play. Because if you ain't supposed to do something, you know you're going to do it. But yeah, I'm remembering. And the cover had Emilio Estevez running and this big, massive Arctic, this big, massive truck behind him with the Green Goblin from Spider-Man on the front. And I remember that. But let's read the synopsis. It's probably a bit easier than me waffling. Maximum Overdrive 1986, made by Stephen King. The premise is beautifully absurd. Earth passes through the tail of a rogue comet, which causes a strange radiation to hit the planet. Suddenly, every machine on Earth comes to life and turns violently homicidal. That's real. Because in the film, there's a woman, and it's in like a roadside cafe in the middle of nowhere, and the electric knife starts going off on its own. I'm sure it cuts the woman. It starts cutting the woman. We're not just talking about semi-big trucks. Everything from electric carving knives and ATMs. They made a cash point in the ATMs to start throwing money at, everyone's running around, getting all the machines. Yeah, the film centres on Dixie Boy truck stop in the North Carolina, where a group of regular citizens led by an ex-con short order cook named Bill Robinson. Yeah, he's the chef. He's like, just come out of jail. I need a job. He's proper like run down. It's like the calf that's in Only Fools and Horses, a proper greasy spoon. Proper like, you wouldn't eat there. If you walked out there, you're definitely walking out with something and you're going to be on the toilet for a good couple of weeks. Emilio Estevez and co must barricade themselves inside as a fleet of silent, sentient big rigs circle the building like sharks. The leader has a Green Goblin truck. Yeah, they just keep driving around this like calf, but the calf's got like a petrol. It's like attached to a petrol station. And they're just driving around in circles, and they can't go anywhere. I don't know what the actual premise of that's supposed to be, but yeah, it's interesting. It sounds stupid, but it is actually an interesting film. It's very, it's good the way it's done. It's good the way it's done. Next one. Oh, my friend mentioned this one. I want to come down onto our list later on. Pam, good friend of mine, Pam Di Bernardo. And she mentioned this one, but this is already on my list. This was Porky's from 1981. Now, I didn't realise Porky's was 1981. I thought it was older, but I know there was about four or five of them. But when you was a kid, Porky's was like a naughty film that was flying around the school, and everybody used to have to watch. Porky's was one of them because it's the first time you ever seen tits on TV screen. But whoa, and there's been loads of them. With Porky's. There's this famous scene where the guy puts his dick through like the shower hole and the woman grabs it. Yeah, it's proper like sex comedies. I think they're called. Yeah, you had a few of them. You had Porky's, you had Screwballs, you had Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you had there's quite a few of them. Quite a few of them. Another one we're going to look at is No Holds Barred, 1989, featuring Hulk Hogan. This was his first film he did while he was in the WWE. It was WWF then. And he made this film. He plays a wrestler, of course. The wrestler, it was actually funded by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon actually paid for all this. He paid on something about 10 million quid for the film to be made. And he made the film based on Hulk Hogan, who's like a wrestling champion in his area. And a guy comes in and he wants to buy the area wrestling and then take it over into his like big like company. And he don't want to. So he's like, no, we're my little thing, my little village. Everyone knows who we are. It's a little, every Saturday come round. Kind of like back in the day, England used to have like Giant Haystacks and Big Daddy, that sort of thing. There's always one of them. But yeah, he plays, his enemy in this is a big black guy called Tiny Lister. Tom Tiny Lister Jr. Big black guy. He was in Universal Soldier, but he's massive. He's fucking huge. Called Zeus. He got a Z shaved in his head. Yeah. It's Hulk Hogan playing a wrestler who don't want to get rid of his wrestling company. So I think just go around and drink. Not many people know this, but Indiana Jones was supposed to have been Tom Selleck, not Harrison Ford. Due to scheduling with Magnum, he couldn't do it. So that's how Harrison Ford got the role. So what they've done was, because Indiana Jones and all them made so much money, and they still do today, even though them shit, they still make a lot of money. The first two was the best by far. Even though they're on telly every single week for some reason. Jurassic Parks and Indiana Jones, I'm on telly every week for some reason. I ain't got a clue why. But there was loads of rip-offs that was made of him. You had a film called King Solomon's Mines. This was Sharon Stone's first ever role. Virtually exactly the same. He goes up. It's got a guy who goes around and he's trying to find some jewel, sort of thing. And I think there was three of them that was made. I think if I remember, it's got like cannibals. There's a German involved, and he goes after some group, and he leads this group, and then he ends up funneling into this tribe, and they're all cannibals. It's basically it really is a big massive excuse me, a rip off, to be honest. My missus likes the one. Likes the. Was it the one that's got not Kurt Russell, what's his name? Michael Douglas in and Kathleen Turner. I likes them ones. There's three of them: Jewel of the Nile, some of the Crown, and War of the Roses. I likes them. Very, very similar sort of thing. But because he made so much money, and Tom Selleck thought, that was I'd be starting that one. So he ended up making a film called very, very, very Raiders of the Ark based. It was called The High Road to China in 1983. Set in the Roaring Twenties, a spoiled, headstrong high society heiress named Evie Tozer learns that a scheming business partner is trying to have an eccentric inventor father declared dead to steal the family fortune. She has 12 days to find him. She hires Patrick O'Malley, a.k.a. Tom, the beautiful moustached one, Selleck, a cynical, hard-drinking, heavy-indebted World War I ace pilot to fly across the globe. The film was literally subtitled Raiders of the End of the World, just so he could jump onto the actual bandwagon of the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And if I remember right, the film poster was basically near enough exactly the same. Yeah, interesting one. But if you look at it, though, if you think about it, Tom Selleck would fit the Indiana Jones role perfect. I really think it would have fitted better than Harrison Ford, to be honest. Another one, Mac and Me from 1988. I remember this one because my sister used to like this. Yeah, my sister Natalie. Beautiful, lovely woman. Miss her. Do miss my sister. Mac and Me, 1988. Famous for its aggressive, unsubtle McDonald's and Coca-Cola product placement. There's loads of them everywhere, and it's everywhere. This is when advertising really did kick off. Mac and Me is kind of like an E.T. kind of thing. Oh, it says here, this bizarre E.T. clone features a wheelchair-using boy named Eric who tries to hide an hideous whistle-talking alien creature from the government. He's got a wheelchair, and he goes around in this wheelchair, and he's got this like thing in it. It's big, massive cheeks, and he's always whistling. Very, very, very reminiscent of E.T. Yeah, my sister Natalie, I love that film. The Wizard, 1989. It's got Fred Savage in from the Wonder Years. A lot of people used to watch the Wonder Years. That was one of his films they made. It was about his brother's autistic. He was brilliant on arcade games and stuff. And they've got no money. And he sees a picture saying there's a Super Mario Brothers tournament. And you can win 100 quid, 300 quid. I don't know what the prize was. But he ends up taking his brother for a day out. And he ends up taking him to this tournament. And to be he could play like the Super Mario Brothers free. Yeah, good. I enjoyed watching that when I was a kid. He's like, oh, he's gone on like a bit of an adventure and stuff. Short Circuit, 1986. And Johnny, number 5. A military tactical robot named Number 5 gets struck by lightning, gains huge emotions and a profound love for reading books, and escapes the military with the help of a young woman, Ali Sheedy. A good film that was. I think they made 3 of them. And when I'm sure on the last one, was it the last one or was it the end of the first one? The cover him in gold. Number Johnny 5 is alive. Short Circuit. Really cheaply. For you watching now, it's like, oh my God. So you can make something better in your garage. BMX Bandits, 1983, started young Nicole Kidman. So I remember watching this one as well, because this was on a Saturday morning. I remember watching this. Nicole Kidman, really ginger hair, really tight perm, walking around on the BMXs, where 3 teenage bike enthusiasts accidentally steal a box of police band walkie-talkies belonging to bank robbers. Yeah, I remember that one as well. Gleam in the Cube, 1989. Christian Slater's Gleam starring role. He's a skateboarder, plays a hardcore skateboarder who uses his underground skating network to investigate the suspicious death of his adopted Vietnamese brother, leading to incredible practical skateboard chases. Lots of the skateboard, I have to remember, because when we was kids growing up, we used to have TV Hits and Smash Hits magazines, and you had Corey was always on the cover, and the boy bands, and he was on the cover for about like a month or so, because he was like the new star sort of thing. But I remember that because I mean, Gleam in the Cube, where I live in the UK, nobody had skateboards, and suddenly that film come out, people had skateboards, and then there's a lot of people being hurt on skateboards because no one could ride a skateboard, and people learned out pretty quick. Skateboards are dangerous, and skateboards break bones. And they soon got swapped for back to the good old BMX bikes or the chopper bikes. Harry and the Hendersons, 1987. It's probably a popular film, but I thought I'd chuck it in because I like Bigfoot and stuff. Excuse me. Now, Harry and the Hendersons, this is the Bigfoot film. They made a TV series from it as well. It's got John Lithgow in, and basically he's driving down the road and he hits a Bigfoot and he takes it home to look after it. And yeah, it's a good film. Kevin Peter Hall, the guy who played Predator, who did the Predator after they got rid of Van Damme, he plays Harry. Yeah, Harry Nelson's good film. That is. Again, you watch it now, it's aged. A lot of these films aged very well. They haven't, you watch them now, you're like, oh God, they look bad. I mean, it's like Jaws. Those aged really well, really, really well. Still scary and brilliant, but no, that day aged very well. The Garbage Pail Kids movie. You had Care Bears coming out. So you had the Care Bears, and then you had the Garbage Pail Kids, and there's all like snotty noses and stuff, and they all had I did have a list of all the ones that snotty, was it Snotty Dotty or something? And they lived in the bins, and it's kind of like, and the Care Bears was all nice and everything nice, beautiful colours, and this was like shitty colours and horrible kids. Yeah, sort of thing. The Beastmaster. This jumped on the bandwagon of like the Conan films, where you had all the Conan films, and this is like a guy who could turn around and he was able to communicate and he could control animals. And like the picture was like him standing there, and it's like, of course, like like a pair of pants, and he'd have like an eagle on his arm, and have a lion by him and a panther like behind him again. Yeah, it was 1982. They had a lot of films that sort of stuff, which was like that sort of thing. But that was one of the things that was done. Oh, I think the missus is back. You had a lot of Conan, Red Sonja. You had a lot of that sort of stuff, and it was all based on them, really. That sort of thing, where it was all like sorcery and supernatural and stuff. I think the missus and my daughter's here, I think, and let's run straight into the garden. Let's run straight in the garden. It's warm, so he's going to be playing in the garden. But yeah, Red Sonja was released in 1985 after all the Conans. So Red Sonja, that was Bridget Nielsen, that was. Jumped on the bandwagon. Conan made a lot of money. This was basically a female version, exactly the same as Conan, really. It was in. was in The Destroyer. I think I was in Conan the Destroyer. And they remade that as well. They remade it in 2025. Martin Ford, the guy from Birmingham, not far from me. He's got like tall guy, got tattoos all down his face, down the side of his neck. Because, you know, he plays the roles how he does. He does really, really well, Martin Ford, you know. He plays the main bad guy in this. He's the Shao Kahn in the new Mortal Kombat. Yeah, he plays, it's the remake of that. But they did try and make it before with Rose McGowan. I always thought there was another one with Rose McGowan, but obviously I've got my boys crossing that. But Red Sonja, Bridget Nielsen throwing around a big massive sword, kicking the shit out of people, and it's been remade. And the original from the 85 looks way better. Like, so take away Martin Ford, who looks good. He looks good in that film. He plays that role really well. That like bad guy, you know. Everything else ain't really, really good on that film. Then you got like there's a lot of vampire films. Obviously, Lost Boys made a lot of money. A lot of money in the box office. So you had a lot of vampire films come. You had Near Dark, starring Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen. Very, very post-apocalyptic. Very, very, very dark. Very. There's a woman directed, like Catherine Bigelow directed that, if I remember right. And very. Where Lost Boys and like them people walking around as vampires and they've got pointy teeth. This is like. These are bad motherfuckers. These are people you don't want to mess around with. Very, very, very dark. Very, like I said, post-apocalyptic. So it's very like them all in leather. A lot of very, very. I think the film's shot completely in dark, if I remember right. I know I watched it once, but I'm sure the film's shot completely in darkness, in night time. The Vamp, 1986, with Grace Jones. Oh, this is a good film. This was. A guy goes to a strip club, and they're basically all vampires. So if you imagine From Dusk Till Dawn, the last little bit when they get to the titty twister, that vamp is that. The film is based on that. And Grace Jones is like the main vampire woman, and she doesn't look good at all. But she's like the leader of the vampires. She doesn't speak in the entire film, but she's like the leader. She just points, kicks ass a few times, and yeah, it's interesting film. It's interesting film. My mate's dad, I had borrowed off my mate's dad, Gibbo. Fright Night, 1985. Very, very good film. They remade it with Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell remade it. I've never watched the remake, but the original one was good. Similar to like The Babes. The guy moves in next door. He's got a lot of women going around his house. He's a good-looking guy. He's got a lot of women going around his house. Must have a big dick, as they always have. And the women end up disappearing. And the neighbour realises, something's a bit odd here. There's a lot of women going out, but not... There's a lot of women coming in, sorry, but not many women going out. Then she starts seeing there's a lot of missing people going on and puts two and two together. Yeah, good film. Very, very good film. Interesting one, that one is. What's next on the list? Howard the Duck from 1986. The cynical cigar-chomping humanoid duck who was accidentally pulled from his own planet Duck World by a malfunctioning laser spectroscope and dropped straight into Cleveland, Ohio. Stranded on Earth, Howard breaks up the mugging and befriends a quirky rock singer named Beverly Switzler. Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson she was one of the, one of the hotties from the 80s. She was in Marty McFly's mom in Back to the Future. She was in Some Kind of Wonderful as well. And she was in quite a lot of films back in the day. Leah Thompson. And there was a scene actually got banned on this because Howard the Duck actually shags her. And they actually banned it from the film because then it would have been an 18. And when they released it as it was, it could release it as like a 12 or a PG. But yeah, he's a duck. I don't know if it's Warwick Davis plays him or something. And he's just an absolute arsehole. But he was it was classed as a superhero film. And he wants to get back to his old place. But because he's come over here, they send from Duckwell to send people after him. Yeah, so it's kind of one of them sort of films. Toxic Avenger, 1984. Again, been remade. Peter Dinklage plays him in the new version. But that was a version of films that was released called Trauma films. It was all like really like it's gore based, but they're not really horrors. It's like people like melting and stuff, and it's really special effects laden films sort of thing. But Toxic Avenger, and there's loads of them back in the day. God, there was a channel on. We used to have cable back in the day. My nan did. We did before we had Sky. We had something called cable, and it was on there. And there's a channel actually called Trauma TV. It's come on for like about 3 or 4 hours, and there's always like Toxic Avenger. I think there's about 4 or 5 of them. But they were like Class of Trauma High, Fast Times, the trauma thing, the trauma incident. There was loads of them. And you saw that sort of stuff like zombies and walking around like stuff straight. But like I said, it has been remade. It's been remade into with Peter Dinklage with today's special effects, but still keeping that trauma base, which is interesting. Excuse me. As I said, my friend Pam DiBernardo, who used to go to school then, she sent me a list. And so, Pam, cheers for the list. Here's your shout out. She's called out Daryl, D.A.R.Boy.L from 1985. The film stars child actor Barrett Oliver, famous for playing Bastian in The Neverending Story, as Daryl, a 10-year-old boy who was found wandering around a mountain forest in South Carolina with total amnesia. He gets placed with a warm, well-meaning foster couple, Joyce and Andy Richardson. Daryl seems like the perfect, absolute son, polite, neat, and highly cooperative, but he quickly starts showing completely unbelievable superhuman talents that stun his family and neighbours. He plays the arcade game Pole Position with impossible lightning-fast reflex that obliterate the high school. He massively modifies a bank ATM to force the display over $1 million in his foster father's account. He steps onto a baseball field for the first time and effortlessly hits massive home runs. Yeah, so basically, he becomes this super. He's a kid that they always wanted who can do everything. Daryl, or when she mentioned that, I was like, Daryl, I remember that. I've never seen it, but I do remember it. She says, "Return to Oz." This freaked me out with those men with long arms with wheels attached to them. Never seen it, so I wouldn't know. Porky's with the famous Lassie. Why do they call you Lassie? If you haven't seen the film, watch it and find out. Jewel. It was released in the 70s, but it was released in the 70s, but didn't get much traction and become popular in the 80s. Excuse me, just have another drink. My throat's really sore. Jewel was made by Steven Spielberg. It was his first film that he made. And it was done under the premise of, like, it's supposed to be like a Outer Limits or a Twilight Zone kind of thing. But it got really, really well. It went down really well. So they ended up making like a film version of it instead. After they watched the little like short, but no, making the film. And the one thing you can take away from the Duel is if you watch Duel now, you can see how it evidently influenced Jaws. There's a lot of things in it, and there's a lot of Jaws thing here. If you watch Duel, you can see the exact cinematic DNA that Spielberg would use 4 years later to make Jaws in 1974. So that was made in 71, but it got released in the 80s because of, obviously, Spielberg became famous from Jaws. He made a film in the 70s, release it. And that's what they did. Yeah, so. She also mentioned a film about 5 kids and the same creature. I think it's called Samid. I never heard of it, so I looked it up, but the only thing I could find was 5 children in it. And that was in 1991. And she also mentions Escape and the Return to Witch Mountains, which The Rock did. Did The Rock do one of them? I don't know what it is. Did send Jenny to Centre of the Earth? No, I think he did. The Escape to Witch Mountains. She did back early days. But Why Are the Dead Gone? Class, which I've mentioned, and Raw Deal. Someone contact me on Instagram. Her name's Jennifer Barton Fisher. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for your comment. And she said Real Genius and Top Secret. I've heard of Top Secret. It's Val Kilmer. It's like the people who did Airplane, the Abrahams. It's one of their films. But I've never heard of Real Genius, so I looked it up, and it's Val Kilmer's starring role. The movie centres on Mitch Taylor, a hyper-intelligent, socially awkward 15-year-old physics prodigy who gets fast-tracked into the Pacific Tech, a prestigious high-pressure university of the country's biggest minds. Mitch is assigned to the room with Chris Knight, Val Kilmer, a legendary senior who's universally recognised as one of the greatest minds on the planet. To Mitch's surprise, Chris isn't a stuffy academic, he's brilliant, a white shirt-wearing, high-practice prankster who believes that if you aren't having fun, your brain is rotting. So, it's got Val Kilmer, so it's going to be, it's going to be good. He's the Iceman. He did play Batman, but he was the Iceman. So you can't say nothing wrong with that. I've never heard of Real Genius, never even heard of that one at all. Top Secret, I've heard of that. Like I said, if you like airplane films, it's done by the Abrahams, so it's very, 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 very similar. Very, very similar film. So if you like that, it's just come out on Netflix. It's just been on Netflix. Another person who messaged me, so thank you very much for this, is Amy Golden. Thank you very much for your message. She mentioned one of my favourite films from the 80s, Some Kind of Wonderful, 1987. Amy, thank you very much for bringing this up because I absolutely love this film. Brilliant. Another one of a brilliant soundtrack. Eric Stoltz plays like a normal guy. Eric Stoltz was the original Marty McFly. He actually filmed a lot of the scenes. He's actually Eric Stoltz in the very first 5 minutes. And if it's like side-on roles and stuff, it's Eric Stoltz. But apparently he was an absolute arsehole behind the scenes and the people just couldn't work with him. So they ended up bringing in Michael J. Fox. But he plays he plays a guy and he's an artist. And he's like not a popular kid. He's like one on the outskirts, but he fancies like the prom queen, the beautiful girl, Leah Thompson. His best friend is a girl who's a mechanic, who has like, wears jeans, rips on the knees and fold ups and, lumberjack shirts and stuff. She's a mechanic. And people don't think it's pretty because obviously it looks like short hair. It looks like a boy. And people like take the piss out of her. But, and Eric Stoltz fancies her and he ends up going on a date with her. He ends up somehow going on a date. And there's a guy who likes her. He's like the popular guy, like the jock, the quarterback. And in the end, it's like the triangle thing goes off. And of course, you've got Eric Stoltz fancying the prom queen. You've got his best friend, he's a woman. And you've got like the bad guy, who's the quarterback, who's supposed to be at high school, but looks like he's about 40, even though he's in high school, because they did that for some reason. They did it in the Grease films. They're supposed to be teenagers, and they've all got like 3 kids. I think one of them was a granddad. Sort of stuff. Some kind of a brilliant Amanda Jones. Round and round she goes. Little Miss Amanda Jones. I said round. Yeah. Really, really good film. It's a rom-com. But it's a really, really good rom-com. Done really, really well. And Eric Stoltz plays the role really well in that as well. Leah Thompson, she looks great in it. She really does. Really does. And yeah, Some Kind of Wonderful. When Amy, thank you very much, Amy, for that shout out, because it really brought back a lot of memories. I ain't seen that film in a long time. That was one of the films I used to watch over and over again because, you thought, well, he's the geek and he gets the girl. But does he get the girl? That's the twist in the film. Very, very, very good film. Excuse me. Excuse me. The missus put it on the group chat. Anybody know any films? Neil's putting a thing out. So we had quite a few feedback from that. Jason and Andrew, they said Clue from 1985. I remembered it, I've never seen it, but I remember it being in the video shop. Basically, it's a film version of Cluedo. It was written by John Landis, who did Animal House and the Blues Brothers. So if you like Cluedo, you'll like this. And Tim Curry is a waiter. He plays a brilliant role. Tim Curry did it. Everyone knows Tim Curry. He was the original It. He plays a really good role, that does. Billy, the brother-in-law, Inner Space and Flight to the Navigator. Flight to the Navigator is pretty popular, but Inner Space, that was brilliant. That was. You had Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, Martin Short. Dennis Quaid he shrinks himself. And he's going to go into this like cat so she's like a scientist. But something goes wrong and he ends up getting injected into Martin Short's arse. And he's travelling around Martin Short. And somehow, and he's in his little thing and he's going around and he shows you all the blood coming round and things. He's got Meg Ryan in it. It's a very, very good film. Very, very good film, that is. He gets him drunk and stuff and he has to go and find Meg Ryan then and convince her that, stuff. Yeah, it's good. Stacey, sister-in-law, The Money Pit from 1986. Luce mentioned this. Starring Tom Hanks and Shelley Long about an house that literally is falling apart. Hence the name, The Money Pit. I've seen it once. I remember the woman sells it to him. It's like a big, massive, really expensive house and sells it at a good price. And the reason why it does it, takes the money and runs, because I know it's literally falling apart. The Money Pit. Outrageous Fortune. Another one on the missus' list. She jumped down in when Stacey said, he goes, oh, that's another one I was remembering. I couldn't remember what it's called. Starring Shelley Long and Bette Midler. They find out them dating the same guy, but they end up teaming together because he's a bit of a con artist. He fakes his own death and he's like a spy and there's people after him. So, yeah, it's one of them sort of like it's a buddy film, but it's like obviously a woman version. Shelley Long and Bette Midler. Brad Thomas, friend of the pod. Vice Versa. Mentioned that before about the body swapping thing. Fred Savage. He swaps bodies with his dad, Judge Reinhold. And that's basically it, really. The swap bodies to go around doing stuff and they help each other. He helps him get the promotion. He helps him get the girlfriend. And it's one of them sort of things, a typical one. He also mentioned Short Circuit as well, which I've already spoke about. Lucy's List. As well as them I've mentioned, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Richard Dreyfuss plays a stressed-out coat hanger manufacturer who lives in a sprawling Beverly Hills mansion. On the surface, he has everything, but his life is completely hollow. He has a tense distant relationship with his kids, sexless marriage to his shopaholic and new age-obsessed wife, Bette Midler. He's having a messy affair with a living maid. As you do. That's what happens when you have maids. That's why you don't have maids. Everything changes when Jerry, a homeless man, has hit rock bottom, wanders into their backyard and tries to drown himself in a swimming pool. Nick Nolte. When she mentioned it, I was like, he rings a bell, but thing, and then I remember the Nick Nolte being in it and being the homeless bloke, and I was like, I get it. And he ends up, Richard Dreyfuss ends up seeing, like, I've got everything, and he ain't got nothing, but he's happier than me, and he wants to kill himself. So he turns his life around. Stakeout from 1987, Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez. Another one, two cops obviously doing a stakeout, and they made another one after that, another stakeout. That was another one. Three Fugitives, Nick Nolte, Martin Short, and Marty Short goes to rob a bank because his daughter's a mute, and the three of them get together. That's the Three Fugitives. His daughter, Martin Short, and Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte is the guy who's actually a criminal, and he's in the bank going, I don't need this shit. I've just come out of jail. I want a fresh start. But of course, they think he's the one that's robbing the bank, and he's holding Nick Nolte he's holding Marty Short hostage, when it's the other way around. And the three of them go loose, and they're the ones that end up being chased. The Three Fugitives, yeah. I remember that one. My aunt used to like that one. Tina. She turned around and mentioned Rita Sue and Bob 2, British classic. It's Channel, I think it's made by Channel 4. A lot of people, if you're from the UK, remember that film proper. Set in the time and that. Very, very set in the time. There's a lot of language, a lot of things I'm said in that film that's based in that era, so it's aged in that era. Which is a funny film. Funny film. Shags one of the girls in the back of a car. Literally 2 pumps. It's like, is that it? I thought I was great. Yeah, funny film. Time Bandits 1981. Story follows Kevin, an imaginative 11-year-old boy ignored by his gadget-obsessed parents. One night, a group of 6 time-travelling little people, the bandits, burst out the wardrobe. I remember this for that reason. It's like Warwick Davis and all the small people. Turns out the former employees of the supreme being God, who helped create the universe. Bored of their jobs, they stole a cosmic map showing all their holes in the fabric of space-time. Their plan travels through time and history and rob its richest figures. Kevin gets swept along for the ride. Yeah, because like all adventures, he meets all famous people and stuff. Like from back in the day, like he meets Napoleon, somebody from like the dinosaur era, someone from Amadeus. He meets a lot of people because around all these little holes in this big massive ship. Mask, 1985, Eric Stoltz share, based on the true story of Rocky Dennis. He was a teenager born with craniodiaphyseal dysplasia. He's got a really weird shaped head, and on this film he actually won an Oscar for other special effects because his head was basically looked like the way the guy did, and he struggles with really like screaming migraines all the time, and he's got a very short lifespan as well. But he's an intelligent bloke and he's a clever bloke, and he gets a lot of bullying and stuff in that. But that was another film as well. Eric Stoltz played in that, and like I said, based on true story. Like you can look that one up. Ruthless People, 1986, directed by the same people who did Airplane and The Naked Guns, the Abraham brothers. Dane DeVito stars as Sam Stone, a loathsome, incredibly wealthy clothing mogul who hates his loud, demanding wife, Bette Midler. Sam spent months meticulously planning to murder her so he can inherit her fortune and run away with his mistress. But as he's about to do the deed, he gets a phone call. Barbara's been kidnapped. Kidnaps him, just a normal couple, trying to get the money off him because they know he's got money. That was a big going around when one I've never heard of. Dead Men Don't Wear Played. Steve Martin plays Rigby Reardon, stereotypical hard-boiled and beautifully dim-witted private investigator. She's got to go and find some scientist and philanthropist. Never heard of them. Batteries not included. Film set in a rundown historic apartment building in the East Village of New York City. A ruthless real estate developer wants to demolish the block to build a luxury high-rises. All the tenants have been brought out and scared of it, except for a stubborn handful refused to leave. These elderly couple who run a small door on the grounds suffers from dementia and exhausted trying to protect his son. The thugs are hired by the vet to vandalise the building, but just as they do, a pair of tiny living mechanical UFO-like spaceships arrive at the building. The tenants effectively dubbed them the Fix-Its. Oh, remember this now? Yes. Oh, I remember this. I remember this now. And they're an old couple, and they're going to try and knock down this calf or whatever it's got, because they want to build this thing. And them little robots, little like things, and they come round and the oven breaks. And I'm like, oh, we can't afford to get it fixed. You can't afford to get it fixed. So they go and fix it. Oh, we ain't got no plates. We ain't got no stuff. So they end up making them stuff. They end up doing all those little things, and they end up finding them. Oh, I remember. God, wow. Yeah, takes me back. That does. 80s film. So that's the end of my list. That's the end of my list. That one is. Is there any more you can think of to add to that list? Other 80s films I remember. You had Red Scorpion. I remember that one. Dolph Lundgren. I had that poster on my wall. The poster on my wall. A bit Dash Rocky. Some Russian thing. He had a big tattoo of Russia on his shoulder. Going around beating up everybody. Of course, you got your Van Damme films, your Bloodsport. Why had Dead Gone mentioned Bloodsport? He said he spoke to his friend about it. He asked his friend for the list. Why had the Dead Gone? Asked his friend. He said he'd never heard of Bloodsport. I'm like, it was made in 1989. Bloodsport was. I was like, hey, bloody hell, Bloodsport. He changed martial arts films. You know, they always say, like, Enter the Dragon and Bloodsport, like, you know, they was the ones that, like, Enter the Dragon changed it in the 70s and Bloodsport brought it back in the 80s, early 90s. Yeah, so I couldn't believe that. Look, you know, Van Damme had them sort of films. But a lot of people were saying, like, you know, films that everyone loves, you know, your Ghostbusters, your Gremlins, and that sort of stuff. And I was like, you know, let's just try and go off. I mean, some people might not have literally heard of any of them films. But I thought, something different. You know, I was trying to do something different today. So, but yeah, 80s films that you loved, but no one else did. Maybe some of them, like that one, just the last one, triggered my memory. Maybe I might have triggered a few memories of some ones that you said. Well, I've said that you remember. If you do, just drop me a comment and let me know. If you send me a DM, let's talk about pods@gmail.com, or you could just message me here on a comment. I'm not fussed at all. I mean, I'll gladly speak to anyone about anything like that, because it's good to always remember to have a trip down memory lane. Oh, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I forgot about that one. I remember that being, because there's loads of clowns on the video cover. And I think it was only a 12 or a PG, but I was terrified to order it because I was shit scared. That was like, they look terrifying. You know, then you had It. That would like come from It. But then from the Killer Clowns, you had the horror films, The Puppet Master, which had like loads of like, there's a guy who created puppets. And I remember one, he was like a little puppet and he had like a drill on his head. He had all these things. Because in the 80s, of course, you had all the 80s horror films. You had like, you know, all the banned ones, you know, all the ones that was the video nasties, like your Evil Dead, I Spit on Your Grave, you Driller Killer, Maniac. Oh, Matt from Whatcast sent me one over, and he said it was called, I think it was called 10,000 Maniacs, or something about 10, I think he said it was Maniac or 10,000 Maniacs. Maniacs was a horror film, and 10,000 Maniacs was the one about some, like, spirits. They used to live under a bridge, and used to go around, like, the one commit solve crime, but they'd, like, go and do things. But I vaguely remember it. I've seen the trailer for it, but I never watched the film for that one. But you had loads of, like, in the 80s film, there's a lot of like cannibal films and stuff and that. So you had a lot of horror in the 80s, because it moved on from like the 70s, it like jumped on the bandwagon. Texas Chainsaw Massacres, them sort of films. And you had, of course, then you got the sequels, the Halloweens, Friday the 13th. I think there's Friday the 13th. I think they went up to 9, and then your Halloweens, I think they went up to. You had H2O, day, which I think was 10. Jason X was 10, and you had your Halloweens, and then they've done remakes since. I think there's been about 4 or 5 remakes of Rob Zombie's done. So you had all them sort of things as well. But of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I remember that one. I remember the video cover. Video cover used to scare the shit out of me. My dad would be like, "Just go and rent it. It's only clowns, only puppets." I was like, "No. Child's Play." It was Child's Play out in the 80s. My Child's Play might have been in the late 80s. Jump on that bandwagon. But yeah. But that's 80s films for today. So I'm going to say, if I'm going to finish the 80s films, I may as well chuck this one in.
Blind boys don't lie. Immortal
best soundtrack in a song or songs. Even today, creating a soundtrack that stands with this soundtrack.
That scream I hear. Cry, little sister.
I've got that was on my gym playlist when I used to do the gym. I had that one on my playlist, and I actually had a rock version of that song as well. And yeah, brilliant song that is. Brilliant. The soundtrack. Me and my mate used to be around his house. Used to play all the while. But like I said, that's the best soundtrack in any film you'll find. That is the best soundtrack. Just goes with the film, perfect. Absolute brilliant film, but not the sequels. Right, so as you've done that one, better get this done. And I'm going to, as my daughter's in the garden, I would have shouted her in if she was here, but she's in the garden. And she could have actually done a live version. If it's so, hang on a second. Let me just see if I can find it. Where's it gone?
Time for me Sunday roast.
Did that one play? Or was it this one?
Sunday roast.
There we go. So today's Sunday roast. What can my Sunday roast be today? I think I'm going to use the missus' one on this one. It's parking. Parking and driving these days. I'm not being funny, because people forgot how to drive. You know, the missus was mad all the while because she parks on like the child and parent and toddler. And she literally looks at all the cars to see if anyone's got car seats. If someone takes a space, they ain't got a car seat. Oh, he dog it very well. But also driving nowadays, no matter where you go, there's roadworks. No matter where you go. I mean, I've got roadworks. There's 2 lots literally outside my house. And it's like, it puts on like an extra like 15 minutes to get to work. Don't know what I'm doing. I ain't got a clue what I'm doing. You know, there's cones everywhere. There's roads closed off everywhere. You're like, yep. It's supposed to be 6 weeks. It's now started at the end, the 1st of February. It's now the end of May. Still ain't done. It's only supposed to be 6 weeks. No one knows what they've done. So, you know, you've got that. So that adds on that work. Then you've got people who drive nowadays. Now, normally, I remember back in the day when you had to pass a test to drive and you had to do manoeuvres. You had to like, go around islands, you had to reverse park, you had to do 3-point turn, emergency stop sort of thing. Nowadays, do people still have to take a test? Because people drive these roads nowadays, and no one's got a clue what they're doing. They're driving on the wrong side of the road, them going around islands, and just they indicate one way and turn another. It's like people have forgotten how to drive. And it's just like, just the basics. It's like you carrying 3-4 ton weapon, and you ain't got a clue what you're doing. You've got women, men and women, driving like 4x4s, and you look at the car, and you can't see nothing. All you see is 2 hands, like this. You see 2 hands, and like in a little bit of an head, and I'm driving a 4x4, and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? You get to the shop, to get to Asda or Tesco. Now, there's thousands of car parking spaces, and people still struggle to park in a parking bay. And I'm like, half over, or them angled, or it's like, there's no one near. What made you park like that? You got the entitlement to that. But if I see anything like that, you know what I do? I'll park right up their arse. I do. Just so they can't get in the car. To fuck them. I ain't bothered. And that's what I'll do. All my daughter's in it now. If my daughter comes in, I'll get her to do a live Sunday roast. I'll see if she'll, I'll see if she'll come out. But yeah, parking nowadays and driving. I've got to admit, I hate driving. I cannot stand driving. I really do. When I first passed my test, I passed my test when I was 17. I love driving. But nowadays, I just hate it. I really do. It's just, the reason why I do hate it is because, one, petrol, like I said, I had to keep taking a mortgage out and remortgaging the house just to put some food and just to put some petrol in the car. I ain't happy about that. There's so many idiots on the road, so many cars on the road, and the traffic. No matter where you go, a simple drive. No, it's quicker to walk. It really is quicker to walk. I mean, sometimes with the road works round here, I can walk to work and it'll take me 45 minutes if I'm walking. And sometimes with the way the traffic is out round here, I can actually get to work in 45 minutes. So there ain't no traffic. I'll get there in 10, 15 minutes. But if there's traffic, it's quicker for me to walk sometimes. And it just really does annoy me nowadays. The reason why there's just so much traffic, so many cars on the road. The parking. I mean, I understand cars. I used to have a Vauxhall Nova back in the day when I passed my test. And I've never had like big, massive cars. So parking's never really been a problem. But parking bays and the same size there was now, back in the 80s and the 90s, they never changed them. And cars have got bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, look at the Mini. A Mini now is the same size as a Range Rover. Now, so I don't know what it's called a Mini for, really. It should be called like a not Mini. But driving, I hate it. I really do. I mean, Tesla have got the thing now where they just get in, say where you want to go, and off it goes. I saw that actually happen in Time Cop, in the Van Damme film, Toy Cop, in the mid-90s. Go in a car, where do you want to go? And he turns around and goes, "You dig me home." And he drove him home. And obviously, that's like a futuristic film, the Van Damme in. When you can do that now. Your driverless cars, that's scary as shit. That really is scary. Driverless cars. I mean, in London, apparently, you got driverless Ubers. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard. That's scary. Scary. Traffic. Driving. I just hate it. But that's it for now anyway. I've gone on. It's an hour and 43. So, as you hear me going on as much today. So, thanks for listening. If there's anything that you want to say, anything you want to comment, if you like my hat, let me know. Thank you very much to the wife and the baby, Lottie, for that. Leave me a comment. Let me know what your favourite films are. Let me know what your favourite 80s film. I'm going to do one of these of the 90s as well. So that'll be interesting because I've got loads of 90s films. And then we can do, I've also got part 2 of my TV shows that I forgot because I've got 4 pages of these. 4 pages of all TV shows that I forgot that I've got to speak about. So I'm going to do I might do that my birthday Tuesday. If the missus goes down to Mum's or something, I might do it then. So let me know what you think. Let me know what your films are. Get in touch with me. Leave a comment on the end of the show. Get in touch with me. Let's talk about pods@gmail.com or contact me on Instagram. Let's_talk_about_pods. If you want to come on the show, let me know. I can send you the link. If you want to do collab, let me know. I'm glad to talk about something. We can have a laugh as we do it. If you want any future shows, let me know. In the pipeline, I've got The Crash, which is a new program that's on Netflix. I've got that lined up. I might look into that. Legends, that what I watched last night, a really good program. I might do a true story on that. I've also got 30 East Drive and Demon House, 4 potential next ones. Something could change, but them are the ones I'm looking at. So, but if anybody else wants me to do an episode on something, let me know and I'll look into it and we can do it. If you want to come on and do the show, do it with me. Fine, I haven't got a problem with that at all. So get in touch with me any way you can. You can contact me on the socials, contact me on an email, contact me on this, on the video at the bottom here. Leave your feedback and let me know what you think. And I'm Neil, aka Neil Orange Peel, and signing out and saying hello to the podcast world. This is me. Yes, I do look that bad. See you later, people, and thank you for listening.